The grey aliens, as we understand them on this planet, are a cartel of some technological propensity. I believe that these grey aliens, they've been reported by so many accounts, are similar to probes that we send out to planets that we ourselves cannot visit to gather information remotely. So who and what and how did these things come to be here? Most importantly, why are they here? That is the real underlying premise here.
As the government kindly decides to admit UFOs are now real, you may have noticed they are leaving a very important part of the phenomenon out of the conversation: alien abduction. Also called abduction phenomenon and alien abduction syndrome.
Stars don't move like that.
Okay, what the hell is that? Oh my God, they're UFOs.
Alien abduction refers to the phenomenon of people reporting what they believe to be the real experience of being kidnapped by extraterrestrial beings and subjected to physical and psychological experimentations. People claiming to have been abducted are usually called abductees or experiencers.
Long hair. Yeah.
A long head and a neck?
Yeah.
Okay.
He lies to it.
What these people have claimed to have seen and experienced tops any mere Pentagon UFO sighting reports by leaps and bounds.
We've only seen the public version so far, but here's what we can tell you. Government investigators seem sincerely baffled by what these things are. Today's report analyzed 144 separate sightings of UFOs by the U.S. military. But in only a single case could the government explain what it was. In that case, it was a large deflating balloon. The rest, the other 143, remain a complete and total mystery.
These people did not just see a fiery light in the sky. They were, in fact, for the moment, a part of that light.
I think those kids have been abducted.
By who?
By what?
After more than a century of UFO sightings and abduction stories, the reality of UFOs have now become front-page news.
Congress this week holding its first hearing on UFOs in more than 50 years, where Pentagon officials shared declassified photos and videos of these unidentified objects in the sky. But did they leave us with more questions than answers?
The very idea that the Pentagon would recently make headlines with claims that some UFOs are real and unexplainable, yet at the same time not address human abductees. How exactly can you mention one without the other? It would seem once again the Pentagon would prefer that you stay blind and unaware.
The creatures that I have seen mostly have been the grays, usually about 3 to 4 foot tall. Real big, almond-shaped black eyes.
For every 100 UFO reports, at least one always includes the loss of time. And in some cases, the witness believes they were taken. Many times, the victims of abduction are not even aware they were taken, but are very aware something has changed. Typically, claims involve forced medical examinations and forced breedings that seem to emphasize around the subject's reproductive system.
All I could see was what I could see looking down across my face. And I saw the tool. I don't even want to know what she was doing. It was horrible. It was frightening, and it lasted a long time.
A number of abductees claim to have been warned against environmental abuses to the surface of Earth and the dangers of continued use of nuclear weapons. Some have even stated being engaged in interspecies breeding.
I blacked out.
Nigel Kerner, science journalist in biomedical science and human behavioral psychology, believes there may be something within the human species that these alien beings may be looking for.
They move across our skies at phenomenal speeds, in various shaped craft. They perform the most heinous surgical procedures from so many accounts that the frequency of these accounts and the distribution of them is such that there can be no doubt that even the psychiatrists of the magnitude in perception of John Mack, the great Harvard psychiatrist, has attested to the fact that these things are genuine and are in fact interacting with the minds of humanity.
After I'd worked with 40 or 50 of these individuals, I discovered to my amazement that there simply was no psychiatric explanation of this, that something real had happened to them. It's really not a matter of believing, Richard. I mean, I think to me this was utterly not possible when I first heard about it, and I didn't write about it, I didn't speak publicly about it for 2 years. This grew out of the experiences of case after case after case. So it was not like believing anything. I came cautiously, reluctantly, gradually to take this as seriously as I did.
Obviously, there must be something to us that brings them here and keeps them here. And the evidence is such that these things may have been with us for many, many thousands of years. So what are they doing here? Well, the implication from all the research that I have done over 30 odd years and many other people have done is that these entities have something, as I said earlier, something to do with the reproductive capacities of us human beings. Now, what would that imply? The final proposition, the final conclusion that I've come to is that these individuals are in fact genetically engineering the human aegis in such a way as to be useful to their own agenda and not ours. And in fact, leaders of military establishments and so on who suspect that these greys have a hidden agenda that is really not to do with the improvement of humankind, but in fact to do with something that they themselves want. Now, what could that thing be? And that's the great $64,000 question. How do we arrive at a conclusion that might be realistic if indeed these extraterrestrial individuals or intelligences persist within our planetary domain? Let me now go on to the more esoteric side of it all and define what I believe a soul to be. I believe that with the inception of the universe, something wondrous came in with the universe, and not just the materiality that we see and know the universe to be. And obviously, these are premises and principles that we have to speculate on, and no one can actually verify this empirically as we do in science. Now, as a scientist and looking at these things from that point of view, it's extremely difficult to be able to give you a definitive answer to that. However, we might speculate that this particular thing is something that would entail the propagation of their own nature. And maybe the fact that we might have the characteristic we call life, and they may not. This is the point. From all accounts, it seems that these are robots, that these are roboids or biological robotic entities, things that don't live in the sense that we do as human beings, and that these things, in fact, have a problem in adapting their psycho-motivational mechanism into our own. And that adaptation may well take many, many generations to make. In fact, there are records of these things going back 40,000 years. And I believe that what they have discovered in us is a living intelligence, which they initially found as a kind of primitive humanoid, which they then, through genetic engineering, adapted to make it possible that they as machines might, in fact, live as we do. And cosmology at the present time accepts that at the end of days, so to speak, there will just be a cold darkness of nothingness. Now, if such a thing is true, then there must be some mechanism, it seems to me, that these things desire before this state arrives. And maybe they found in this livingness business of species on this earth that somewhere they could, in fact, remember, they'll be breaking down as mechanical things, and they would have to replenish themselves. And they found that within our scope, there was DNA, there was some mechanism that made us live, and that particular facility of doing this is what they're after. How do they piggyback on this mechanism we call human livingness?
Could this really be the truth behind the alien agenda? Are alien beings really here to harvest our human souls? And if these creatures are really nothing more than robotic probes, who or what sent them? Today, more than 80% of the human population believe alien creatures are not aliens at all, but demons who have been here on Earth since the very beginning. If this theory is true, watching the skies will do you no good, because what is coming for you is already here. This has been the Confidential Report. For even more stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel today. And please show your support by clicking the like button on this video. For even more stories and news you deserve to know the truth about, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching the Confidential Report.